It always annoys me how, whenever it comes to Valentine's Day, or any of these holidays really, but especially Valentine's Day, all these corporations and all these companies just love to remind you about people that are quote unquote in love. I can't even play Fortnite without Fortnite taking the whole damn thing and making it about Valentine's Day. And it's just like, wow, like I use this game to cope, to not think about, you know, my lack of female attention, you know? And it gets really annoying because it's like, damn, you go to these video game worlds, you go to these places where you feel like you have power, where you feel like you're seen, where you feel like you can control things, because in real life you can't control a damn thing. What can you really control? People like to gaslight lonely men and say, life is what you make it, but that's not true. That's not true at all. Certain opportunities and certain things are presented to others and they're denied to others because we live in an unfair world. We don't live in a world of justice and righteousness. We live in a world that loves to see lonely men downtrodden and beaten and destroyed. And it got me thinking, you know, when have I ever had a Valentine's Day? When have I ever actually been on a date? And being somebody as old as me, I can honestly say that I've never had a Valentine's. Never. And the only time I tried to give a girl, Valentine's Day, presents and chocolate, she turns around and pretty much throws away, the teddy bear I gave her and then gave the chocolate away to, some Chads and Tyrones. Do you know how that hurt me? Do you know how long it took me to work up the courage and work up the strength to give that girl a Valentine's Day present and have it backfire on me like that? And then the next day she sees me, doesn't even acknowledge me, doesn't even looks my way. Like we walk past each other in the hallway in school or whatever, and she doesn't even look at me. And she sees like a Chad and she gives him a hug, like literally just jumps in his arms, and he didn't give her shit for Valentine's Day. And when you see that and when you live that and have these experiences over time, it erodes your confidence as a man. It really freaking does, Nothing's worse than looking at girls you can never have. That's one thing that really angers me. It's my whole life, man. I've never really had a Valentine's with a girl, and I've never been on a date. Yeah, I've never been on a date. Never. Never been on a date. Not once. I never went with a girl somewhere to the movies or never, I was going through all type of schizophrenic episodes in my mind, hearing voices and seeing, demons in the corner of my eye, man. Like, you gotta understand, man, I grew up with a schizophrenic uncle who was literally crazy. Excuse me, he was literally crazy, and I was always around that type of energy. I was always around different types of evils and different types of, just negative energy and negative energetic manifestational frequencies and connotations and associations. I was always near negative shit. So I was just never a normal guy. This is why when I was younger, I chose to rap, because I seen all these rappers. I seen people coming from the ghetto, people who was gangbanging, people who come from negative environments, but they were able to use poetry. They were able to use their lyrics. They were able to use their words and transform those words into money and transform those words into getting some money and getting women and getting success and validation and attention from women. So I thought, well, shit, I'm going to start rapping. If I become a rapper, then I can have, any girl that I want, because what girl doesn't want to be with a rich, famous, multi-millionaire rapper? They say they don't, but then you see them right on their knees, begging to please. That's the best way I can put it, right? And letting the rapper hit it from the back and making that Nani Smack, So it really hurts me, man. It just downright bothers me that I'm of my age now and I've never had a Valentine. And when I try to play Fortnite or any other game to take myself out of this misery, the corporations of these damn video games remind you like, oh, you don't have a girlfriend, ha ha, or you don't have a girl liking you, ha ha. And it's just like, deep down inside, it hurts. But on the outside, like, I built up this shield, this type of vortex shield where I really don't give a damn. Like, after a while, you go so long without it, it just becomes normal. It becomes normal that you don't have a girl in your life. It becomes normal, but it doesn't make it any less painful. It's insane, absolutely insane that we have to go through this. I think I think it was Lonely Black Pillar. I think I was on his channel and I was watching him, or I was watching this post he made. And it was about an elephant. It was about a male elephant. I think it was his channel. It was about like a male elephant or something like that, or somebody's channel where it was a post like that. It was about like a male elephant that wasn't getting any cheeks, and then this male elephant just went wild, like because elephants have a thing called musk or whatever. Whenever they go into like a heat or something like that, whenever they need to mate, and this male elephant couldn't find any female elephants, so it started just attacking any humans it came across. It started attacking anything that it came across. Now, if you have animals that get sexual rehabilitation and they get mental mutilation and degradation from not having no association of female validation, then imagine what happens to humans. Imagine what happens to us. And they wonder why people go ER. They wonder why people just snap and break it and they lose sense of all reality. It makes me angry that I can't have the girl that I truly want. Because I like beautiful women. Even though I'm an ugly guy, I like beautiful women. You see how that doesn't work? You know? So it's like either I get rich, either I get some type of fame or get some type of online clout or get some type of something that can make women like me, right? Because just me being a nice guy, like I like to make music, I like to make books, I like to write poetry, I like to study esoteric secret knowledge. I could be the romantic type of guy, eating like, smoking a joint under the stars with a girl, eating chocolate or, you know, eating some late night food or something like that, having some milkshakes or smoothies and stuff and just talking about life and just having her lean her head on my shoulder and stuff like that. Like, stuff like that is not for guys like us. Honestly, as messed up as that sounds, it's not. It's not. Like, having normalcy with the woman is not for certain men, unfortunately. And unfortunately, we're thrown into that category of people that are rejected and just not accepted into this society. And what makes this worse is that it gets worse every single year as you get older. Like, how long can we go with seeing so many beautiful women? And what's crazy is I noticed that a lot of these women, nowadays, they're like, they're extremely freaky. Like a lot of these 22-year-old girls, 24-year-old, 23-year-old girls, like they're extremely freaky because when I was coming up, we didn't have only frauds for girls. You know what I mean? Like, like when I was coming up, I was coming up in the days of MySpace. You know what I mean? Like I remember when MySpace was still around. Some of you guys are so young that you never had a MySpace before. That's how young some of you guys are, and that's how old I am, you know. But those are my days, right? I remember the days of MySpace, and everybody had a MySpace and all that shit. You put the little music player and all that. And you had your MySpace friends, and everybody wanted to be in the cool people's popular friend groups and their top friends and all that. I remember that shit, man. You know. But even then, man, I should have known because even then, the rejection from women was intense. Nothing's worse for a man than being rejected by a woman, man. And nothing's more worse than being embarrassed by females. I can tell you countless times how I've been humiliated in front of females and it just broke down my confidence. You know, whether it's like my mom yelling at me in the store right in front of females, and then people like look, like the girls look and they start snickering at me. I'm talking about over the age of 18. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like as a little kid. I'm talking about over the age of 18, having that still happen to you, which erodes your confidence. And then like, and it's like, of course, parents, like they forget that. You try to bring it up to them and they act like they don't remember, so it's like, okay, whatever, having friends. Like another thing is when friends do that. When you have a friend who's cool with you, right? He's cool with you. Then all of a sudden, you guys get around some females, you get around girls, and then he starts acting weird. He starts like bringing up all your embarrassing moments. He starts talking shit about you. He starts trying to make you feel like you're nothing and tries to like raise himself up and put you low in front of the females. I can't stand people like that, and it's even worse when you have a friend or like a small circle group, and then one of the people in the circle group gets a girlfriend, and he just leaves all his other friends behind because he has a girlfriend now, and he thinks he's better than you because he has a girl. That's how powerful women are. Women don't even. I think women do realize it. That's why they're very selective of who they mess with. But I think some women probably don't even realize it or don't care to realize it, how powerful they are, because they're supposed to be the quote unquote weaker sex when it comes to physical manifestations. But just because a woman doesn't have the physical strength of a man doesn't mean she doesn't have strength in other places. Some women are incredibly intelligent and incredibly smart, and they know how to use their body for manipulation, And most men, man, they talk this big game, but then when it comes to a woman, they break easily. Like I remember I did like a quick video on that one girl called No Longer Human 777. And then immediately I had so many people in the comment section defending her, oh man, she has mental health issues and blah 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 blah, man. And they're only doing that because she's a pretty Asian female. Because if it was an Asian male going through that, nobody would have defended would have came to her defense. Oh, she has mental health issues. I have mental health issues too. I've been homeless. I was a NEET for 10 freaking years. From the age of 23 years old to 33 years old, I was a NEET. I have mental issues. I was in poverty. Then I finally get kicked out of here, kicked out of there, kicked out of there, kicked out of there. I finally built a YouTube channel on my own without anybody's help. Then my bitch ass cousin comes and finds it. Like, how does that happen? And I can't stand that ninja, and he can't stand me neither because he's envious and jealous of me. I don't like him. And he's watching every video that I make. Then my grandmother, who I loved with all my heart and soul, passes away. Then I have nothing. Then I get kicked out because of online racist trolls. Do you know how much I have to hold in? Even now as I make this video, I have to talk in a whisper. You know? But nobody has no sympathy or empathy or compassion for me at all. But if I was a female, watch how much ass kissing I would get. God damn it. Anyway, it's really disheartening not to have a woman in your life after a certain age, man. And what I can't stand is you're always going to have a beautiful woman, whether you go to a job interview, whether you go to a job, whether you go to the grocery store. That's why, I'm going to tell you something, bro, some real shit. Part of the reason I was a NEET, because I knew when I went out into the real world, I'm going to run into girls that I can't have. And that's going to break me more. I'd rather just live in anime fantasy worlds and have like anime waifus and watch anime and then, and stuff like that and just fall in love with video game character girls or maybe some girls on Instagram who will never see me, don't even know I exist, maybe some ASMR girls, then actually interact with them in real life, knowing that I can't have them and because like I'm an ugly guy. It's nothing worse than being around a beautiful woman. Nothing's worse than getting judged by a beautiful woman when she's face to face to you, when she's looking right at you. Nothing's worse than that. Nothing's worse than that. Nothing's worse than seeing something you can't have. It's like, imagine a drowning man. Like, you're underwater and you're drowning and you're just about to reach the surface and your fingertips touch the surface. And then as soon as you touch the surface with your fingertips, you get that little hope and then boom, your lungs give out and you open up all this water and you just drown and you start to sink. And then it's like, damn, you was almost there. And then you just drown. That's how it feels like after a while when you don't have a woman in your life, bro. And it's not just about sex, it's about that emotional connectivity that because it's like you need to have your emotions met as a human, man. You need to have that, point blank period. You need your emotions met. You need your physical needs and you need your psychological needs. You need these needs met because without these needs, you can't really raise up and become a man. How can you be a man when you don't even understand what it means to be a man, when you're not even loved? You think being a man is just waking up and going to the 9 to 5 every day? Yeah, you can do that and you can manage that. You can get your money up and all that, but then eventually you're going to lose your freaking mind. And then when you lose your mind, people are going to attack you. People are going to say, oh, you're irritable. You get agitated easily because you're not getting no booty or coochie. You're not getting no cheeks. You're not hitting it from the back. When you hit it from the back as a man, bro, it's like it makes you confident, especially when a woman really into it and she loves it, You hitting it from the back, you're making that Nani Smack, you hitting it from the side, you letting her ride, she giving you fellatio with a high ratio. That's going to raise your confidence. And after that, after you get a blowjob on the beach, you're going to feel like hell, you're going to feel like Superman. You're like, hey, I'm going to write that book I finally wanted to write, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Hell, you just want to do more things. But if you're depressed and you're miserable, going on Pornhub can only do so much. Going on X videos can only do so much. You need to actually have the real thing in your life, in your vicinity. And to a lot of us, being in the vicinity of women is like being in the vicinity of your enemy, because a lot of women look at ugly men as their enemies. Let's just be real. Women are extremely shallow. I'm not saying that men are not shallow in their ways as well. But when it comes to women, they're even more shallow. Women are extremely shallow, like really shallow. but they're not shallow when it comes to the guy that they want. Because when it's a guy that they want, a woman will do anything. A woman will break the rules. A woman makes rules for guys that she doesn't want, and she breaks the rules for guys that she does want. You know, like there's a lot of things that we should have had as teenagers that a lot of us who are adults, quote unquote adults, that we didn't have, like going to prom or going on your first date or having your first Valentine's. I can't believe that I'm my age and I've never had a Valentine's Day, not even once. And then one time I actually did when I was like, what, that was in middle school, I believe, you know, I was in middle school in eighth grade, and that went to hell. The girl just utterly just shitted on me, threw away the teddy bear and gave the chocolate to other men. Like, that's brutal, you know. And how I knew about that is because like the people, I had some friends in the gym or whatever at the time that seen it all go down, and it really affects you, man. It really affects you when you go years like this, when you go years without just having so much as a hug from a girl. It's why a lot of us, we get addicted to this ASMR stuff. I know I do, man. Like I get addicted to ASMR, even though on my old channel when I was the Black Pill villain and I had a way bigger channel, a way bigger audience, and I was actually, pretty known by a lot of bigger YouTubers that would shout me out or mention me from time to time on their main channels or whatever. But when when all you ever wanted was real true love and validation, man, that's like all you really wanted, and you constantly don't get it. It does something to your mind. Of course you're gonna be more nihilistic. Of course you're gonna be more, realistic to your physical attributes. When you know you're an ugly guy, you don't even want to try. Because trying has showed you that there's no rewards in trying. There's no rewards because you're always gonna get crapped on. I'm sick of this crap, bro. Like when I come on here and make these videos, bro, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a guy that's going through hell. That's just, it's like a diary. It's like an audio log you find in Doom 3 or an audio log you find in Dead Space, an audio log you find in a horror video game, Like this is just my thoughts on things. I'm shocked people watch me. I'm like, wow, people are actually, I'm still shocked, you know. I had a 30-minute video yesterday, and like the average view time was like 21 minutes. I'm like, damn, people actually watch this for like 20 something minutes. That's that's amazing. You know what I mean? Because it's like then I think my watch time hours now is like 8,000 watch time hours in like 5 months. But YouTube still refuses to monetize this channel. But my other channel, the Black Pill Villain, I got monetized so quick and so easy. Now when I really need some money or something like that from YouTube, it's impossible to get monetized, even though I meet the requirements. Over 1,000 subs and over 8,000. I just hit 8,000 watch time hours or whatever, and yet they refuse to monetize me. So I told you, man, there's always something that it tries to block us from being happy. It blocks us from having women. It blocks us from living a life we truly want. I want to live a life like Superstar O. I want to live a life where I can do what I want for a living, where I can buy cars, where I can buy homes, where I can have a beautiful girl. Hell, multiple girls now. Because I don't believe love exists for unattractive guys, because it doesn't. Love doesn't exist for unattractive men. Love only exists for Chads and Tyrones. For us, we can love a girl, like we can genuinely love a girl, fall in love with her, and genuinely care about a girl, but she would never genuinely care or love us because we're ugly. You know, it's the truth. Women don't like ugly men, just like men don't. A lot of men don't like no ugly woman. I'll be real. I don't want a woman that weighs more than me. And it's the truth. Shit. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm being real. I want somebody who I like, who I'm physically attracted to. That's just human nature, and it's natural to look at something that you're physically attracted to that's aesthetically pleasing. And pretty girls are aesthetically pleasing to me. It's just like, I just wish that whoever made this world, if you're not going to allow us to have beautiful women in our life, then why not just make us into handsome people? Why not make us beautiful people as well? See, this world is unfair because you have beautiful people and then you have unattractive people. If everybody was attractive, if everybody had money, if everybody had wealth, if everybody was allowed to live out their dreams, if everybody had it, that would be amazing. You know, I go through so much psychological pain and psychological things that can make anybody go insane. But I have to keep going on. I have to keep on, dreaming and hoping and wishing. It's just what I need somebody outside of my life to come into my life and actually help me and put me in a position to win. You know, if I was that girl, no longer human 777, who a lot of people defend, which I understand, she's in a mental, she has, she has mental health issues, which people came to her aid, even on my channel here, people came to her aid. Oh man, don't talk about her like that because, she has mental health issues. And I was like, bro, I have mental health issues and I don't hear nobody offer me no fucking sympathy because I'm a man and my skin color configuration at that, you know? So if I was a cute girl, whatever, complaining, talking about the same shit I'm talking about now, I'd have way more viewers. I'd already be monetized. I'd probably making 5,000 a month, enough to get me an apartment, enough to, even buy a car within a year or whatever. But since I'm a male, you know, there's a sexual bias, and we have to, come in terms with that. People treat people who look unattractive negatively, and they treat people who are attractive in a positive light. That's just the way humans are. You know, there is a such thing as pretty privilege. There is, you know, there is. For instance, if like a big old beluga whale steps on your shoe, say it's like a girl, she's like 500 pounds, and she steps on your shoe or tries to push you out the way, you gonna probably push her back and try to get angry, But if it's like a pretty Stacy that steps on your shoe, oh, I'm sorry. She steps on your shoe and she looks at you. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. You're like, oh, it's okay. You're gonna be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, she touched me. It's like, it's gonna be like, you're gonna be so excited because she's pretty and beautiful. And guys like us, we're so touch starved, we're emotionally starved, we're sex starved, hell, we're success starved. Like we're starved in all the worst places, man. And it's not good. It's not good to live your life like this, man, because eventually it's gonna erupt like a volcano. I can't imagine how the future's going to be in another 10 years when we have a bunch of young guys now who are like 10 years old, and in 10 years they'll be 20 years old, and then they're going to have to deal with the dating market when they're 20, 21, 22. Imagine women's, standards then. They're just going to be raised even higher because each year women's standards are getting raised, but the money is getting lowered. And people are not having families simply because they can't afford to have families. How can you afford to have a family when the damn jobs are not paying what they're supposed to pay? You can't have a family when you're broke. You can't have a family when your whole life is a joke. And you sure as hell can't have a family when you're mentally ill, going through all this pain that's enough to drive you insane. You know, this world is not fair. And I don't think it was ever meant to be. It's controlled by some evil, sadistic, twisted God.